Yo, 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 yo. What's up, all you burners, stoners, and potheads? This is Weedman 420 with the Weedman 420 Chronicles. How are all you vipers doing out there? Mrs. Weedman.
Mr. Weedman.
How the hell are you?
I'm feeling like a new person this year.
Nice.
Yeah.
Great way to start. I thought you were going to say you feel a little slushy. Because it's
Slid.
so damn slushy outside.
It is slushy.
Hey, everybody out there. Hopefully you're doing great. Hopefully you're smoking some big fat doinks while you're listening to the show. Mrs. Weedman and I are about to get normal. And we're going to smoke some GG4 that was grown by our good friend, Big Earl. And I have a little bit left of this strain. I've been savoring it because it's just so damn good. This is an indica dominant strain. I've read about it before, 60-30 or 70-30 kind of indica sativa-ish. It's a cross between Chem Sister, Sour Dub, and Chocolate Diesel. Delicious.
Sounds great.
Yeah, known for its body melting effects. This girl goes perfect for kicking back on those nights when the rest just won't come easily. Oh, I can't wait to smoke this tonight before bed, too. The high slow building. It's an onset, first hitting you in the mind with lifted sense of euphoria as your negative erasing thoughts quickly fade away. Your body will drop off into a state of deep physical relaxation. The state of, man, that smells so fucking good.
Yeah, so
the state of calm quickly turns sedative, immediately gluing you to anywhere you happen to be sitting. Great. For hours on end without relief, with these hard-hitting effects and its super high THC level, original glue or Gorilla Glue is said to be perfect for treating conditions such as chronic pain, depression, insomnia, and muscle spasms or tremors. This bud has chemical diesel flavor with a rich chocolatey exhale and tastes slightly of earth. The aroma is very heavy and pungent and dank diesel overtone extended by mocha and spices. Original the buds have oversized, fluffy olive green popcorn-shaped nugs with long, thin amber hairs and coating of thick, frosty, bright white crystal trichomes. Body high, euphoria, relaxing, sleepy. That's the effects. Relieve symptoms of chronic pain, depression, muscle spasms, insomnia. I can't wait to smoke this tonight before bed. Flavors: chemical, chocolate, diesel, and pine. And then aromas are chemical, diesel, earthy, sour, and woody. I tell you what, we've been smoking this for a while now. Big Girl bought this to me a bit ago, and I kept a little bit here and there. Pretty much safe and sound in good jars, 8 decades jars with Bovado bags. I mean, just to make sure this strain was super fresh. It's still super fresh. It's still moist. It still has everything I love about this strain. Big Girl, the one thing I'm bummed about, I know you listen to this show, the one thing I'm super bummed about is that you don't have any more of this.
I knew it.
You crossed it with a bunch of stuff, but you don't have any more of this. And I tell you what, this would be on my regular smoke list from you. I mean, I would get this from you every time I saw you. This is like one of those strains, and I have a few friends that had
really enjoyed it too.
Who had gotten some of this and were just like, yo, if he ever comes back with this again, this is the strain. This is phenomenally well done all around. Grow, stankity stank, dankity dank, the smoke, the high, the burn, everything I've tried it out of, from a joint to a bowl to a bong. Everything I've smoked out of this has been absolutely phenomenal. I just wish it wasn't over. I have like 4 nice nugs left, and then that's it. It's gone. What do I do?
Cherish them.
What do I do?
One per quarter for the year.
Oh, man.
It'll be the celebratory bud for the quarter.
It's just such a great, just a taste, the smell. I just love this fucking strain. It's just so good. And I've had GG4 before, but not grown by Big Earl. And
It's
this
special.
is just fabulous.
Yeah. I'm starting to feel it settling in. And I have to say, like I talked about last week a little bit about going into this year feeling really optimistic.
Look how nice that burns.
Yeah, it's super nice. You know, like my journey over the last probably 12 years with cannabis went from like enjoying it in very social settings, occasionally at home, definitely not in the company of many others, right? Like, you know, people that I knew smoked, right? I was still kind of not embarrassed about it, but I still felt like
The stigma of it.
Right? And I was a mom and da 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 da. And then to like fully engaging in recreational use and loving every minute of it and not giving two shits about the stigma, but trying to challenge the stigma. And then coming into these last handful of years where medically I really needed it. And I was at the allergist today as a follow-up appointment and just talking about how this year I just feel different. I feel better. I've had a wacky kind of journey with my health over the last couple of years. I've talked about it on the show. I have a mast cell disorder, and that is a genetic. It's a whatever. It's a cluster is what it is, right? And I've dealt with symptoms of it for many, like all of my adult life, kind of chasing this diagnosis, and finally got the diagnosis after a bone marrow biopsy and multiple, like everything being biopsied and poked and prodded in my body, to last year being hospitalized for internal bleeding after having like a outpatient procedure for my condition, and then, you know, waking up to like projectile vomiting blood everywhere and ending up in the hospital for the first time in my life other than giving birth to kids. And, you know, I had been given a diagnosis that said, hey, guess what? Recently, this rare condition has 2 FDA-approved medications. They're not really for the condition, but they've been found to help the condition. So you could try these 2 medications, or you have a terminal lifespan of 2 to 3 years. So in my brain, it was like, I don't really feel that bad, but I guess I'm going to start feeling really shitty. And I got to try these medications. Try one, used it for about a year, and felt nothing but sick all the time. I felt terrible. Couldn't even take the proper dose that I needed to take for my condition.
They had you on a heavy dose.
Yeah, and so we were, taking the dose down to the lowest dose I could tolerate, but then it wasn't effectively doing anything for the condition. It was just making me sick. To then, we give up on that medication and try my only other option. So my future wasn't looking super promising, and it was kind of like in my brain. It really kind of fucks with you. And like, people don't understand that. I don't think most people in my life really understood the diagnosis I was given, because it's rare, right? It's a rare condition, and not many people are going to take the time to go looking it up online to learn about it. I have a hard time explaining it, and I have it. So it was a weird place to be for the last couple of years, this kind of hovering over my head that, okay, you've got one medicine that's working, but that too makes you really sick unless you take a low dose of it. Well, then I get re-diagnosed. After my hospital visit, then I get re-diagnosed with the lesser intense version of the condition. So it's not a terminal anymore. Now it's just a chronic condition. Still needs to be treated with these chemotherapy companion medications. Kind of intense, and, blood work every week. Not every week, I'm sorry. Blood work every month. I have to see, multiple specialists. But hey, if it keeps this condition in the state that it's in and I can live a reasonably nice life, I'm going to take the medication, right? Then I find out and then I had a round of skin cancer last year because my immune system was compromised from those medications at the higher doses. Then my body was vulnerable, according to the doctors, and boom, I get skin cancer on my nose. I have to have Mohs surgery. Then I find out I have osteoporosis. Not like, oh, yeah, you just got to take some vitamins. No, I have like full-blown osteoporosis. Like the next stage would be...
At a very young age.
Yeah. The next stage would be presenting with a broken bone from a not very serious incident, right? You stub your toe and your ankle breaks. So it's not great. So, yeah, like Mr. Weedman said, normally at 51, you don't get diagnosed with full-on osteoporosis. So the medications to treat it aren't really studied on, over 10-year spans. So we have to, figure out the approach to how we're going to treat this. Well, I got this infusion, and I'm supposed to get it once every year. They're going to do 2 to 3 years for now, and then we'll go from there. there may be other treatments and therapies at that point. So I get this IV infusion. Now I also go for acupuncture, and the acupuncture helps me with everything.
I fucking love acupuncture.
I love it.
Ugh.
Ronica, she's our girl. She's amazing. And so that, I've got cannabis and I've got acupuncture keeping me grounded. Right? And then I've got medicine and doctors that are taking care of me. And I'm in a better place, right? I guess. I don't know. At least I have a diagnosis. Well, anyway, I turned a new page. Like, I got this infusion for the osteoporosis. I had, like, that same week, I had acupuncture, and we did some different things, Ronica did some different things with the needles and different placements. And then I incorporated a full spectrum CBD, CBG tincture, which I've been taking between 500 and 1,000 milligrams of each day.
Beast mode. No,
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
And I've brought vitamins back into my life. And I will tell you, I'm so optimistic, I think, about this year, because I literally feel like in that last, 2 weeks of December, like somebody went and cleared my eyes off, and I can see again.
But here,
I feel grounded again. I was like floating through life. It was a very surreal, weird experience.
yes, but you still have pain.
Oh yeah, I'm not symptom free.
No, and that's what people.
But what is different is that I think dealing with a terminal diagnosis, yes, there were therapies, but like cancer, if you have terminal cancer, yeah, there's therapies, but you have had terminal cancer, or you have terminal cancer. And the word terminal is there, right?
Right.
My diagnosis was a terminal diagnosis.
Yes, it was.
It's weird. It's a very strange headspace that you get in. And, you don't realize it while it's happening. It's just strange. And prior to my being in that position, to anybody, when we get on the topic of death, that I would always say, we can all say that, oh, this is so tragic, this person is going to die. But I mean, even the healthiest person is going to die, and we don't know when. Like, death is a part of life. And I have a healthy acceptance of that. But I grieve. We're all human. We're going to grieve, and we miss people, and we don't want them to go. Where am I going with this? I'm really high. I'm
GG4.
writing a book right now. Holy schmoly.
And we said we had nothing to talk about before the show.
Yeah.
Go ahead, finish up.
But no, so just stewing with that and not really knowing who your people were, or then finding out who your people were, the people who really inquired, and maybe the few people who took the steps to actually learn a little bit about what you have. You learned the people who kind of laughed when you said you feel funny and you feel cloudy, and they would joke and laugh, oh, it's just menopause. Well, no, I'm telling you, I just don't feel it. No, it's just menopause. And that's what I kind of was assuming it all was. But it was just a weird place in the time of my life. I think there was also closure, and the holidays were always difficult. I lost my dad close to the holidays, and then a lot of death within my family, or experiences in my life, were in that fall, and I guess that accumulates over time. And this was 10 years since my dad passed, and also the death of his brother and my mom's brother. So some weird things with that, that whole aunts. I don't have aunts and uncles, really. Isn't that weird? Weird.
You don't?
No. Isn't that weird? I had my grandparents still until 10 years ago. I had grandparents in my 40s. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Right? Oh my God, where am I going with all of this? All I'm saying is I had some heavy years, and I think the medication was clouding my mind and making differences in my brain, but I'm sure some of it was emotional and, psychological, maybe a little bit, and nothing that was awful, but it was just different. It was a different time.
Well,
and I just feel like right now the world is clear, and I feel like I'm back.
Here's the thing. You thought...
through all that we created 8 decades, and we recorded a podcast. I sold a shit ton of fucking real estate, and we built a brand. And I just persevere. Like, we just do these things, right, Mr. Weedman?
Well, I was going to say, you stole my
do it.
thunder because I was going to say that while you were talking your story. I'm like,
Sorry.
But she also started a brand. We also do a podcast week. We started once a month and then went bi-weekly and then every week. She's a full-time realtor. She has me to take care of.
Which means you're an all-time realtor because there's no such thing as work
I'm
hours.
like thinking, I'm looking at you going, damn, what a fucking badass. Meanwhile, in her brain the whole time, she kept on thinking, you hear the word terminal, like you said, and it kind of fucks your head up a little bit.
Yeah.
You know? So I was like, well, as all this was going on, she still stayed strong enough and kicked ass and took names and worked the whole time.
Yeah.
While going to doctors a lot and getting poked and prodded and trying not to let the fouls of life veer her in any which direction to the success of life. She stayed strong.
Veer me away from success.
Right. So there was probably times you were probably just looking at your computer going, I just want to quit.
What the fuck am I doing?
Right. Mm-hmm. Probably 100 times. You probably in
like
that year and a half.
I want to be freezing cold. I don't want to be here. I don't want to be doing this. Yeah. Right?
I mean, I came up there sometimes and I'm like, or came in the house and still, wondered what you thought all day sometimes. You know, it doesn't, I try to keep things normal and keep laughter going as much as I possibly can. Just kept to be a goofball because, you can't both be depressed. It'd be misery. So you do the best you can to be supportive, of course, but you also try to bring laughter as much as you possibly can.
Yeah.
And cannabis helped with making me help Mrs. Weedman laugh a lot because I'd be goofy.
Oh my God. I don't even know how we would have gotten through the last 2 years without cannabis. Honestly.
And Yuki.
And a doggy.
And a doggy support. My gosh.
Just
because she makes you laugh
having
a lot.
The ability to kind of turn it off. And many people might say, well, that's kind of escapism. You're using something to get away from your problems. But like, a psychiatrist or a psychologist or a behavioral specialist or an addiction person would be like, oh, it's a crutch. You're using it improperly. That's not using it therapeutically. No, I'm using it therapeutically.
Right.
Because if I don't smoke, I will think. And me thinking too much is too much. Mm-hmm. It's like, I need the weed.
Keeps you focused.
And I really feel like it's part of, I believe the word is homeostasis. Like when your body is just like working, like everything's functioning the way it should. Your mind is good. Your soul is good. Your functions are good. Insides, outsides, you're all like, your shit's together. Like everything is good. You're in homeostasis. You're just in balance. You're in, like, your body is grounded in check. And I haven't felt that for a long time.
When my butt, I have good poops. Good poops. That's when I know my whole body's in homeostasis.
Well, everybody, now you know it all.
Complete, fascinating poops. You ready to start the show?
Yeah.
Let's do this. So as Mrs. Weedman says about weed, and here's some reasons why you should be growing your own weed, your own cannabis. And it is not that complicated. If I can do it, and I've said this on the Grow Hour, that's why we started the Grow Hour, Big Girl and I, to help people learn how to grow your own home grow. And I enjoy it. It is not complicated because if T the Tech can do it too. And I have a newish friend who I've met through my son and some of his friends out in Arizona home growing. And he is his first grow. And he's been DMing me on Discord a lot about, I just got nutrient burn. And I told you last time we were talking, less is more. And you just told me you got nutrient burn. But I said to him, I said, don't worry, man. This is your first grow. Things are going to happen, but I bet you still get something. So, it's not complicated, but it is it does take time to learn how to do it. Your first grow might be a disaster, or it could be a really good grow. All it is learning to do it yourself so you can realize that, one, for me, it's a zen. And I don't have a green thumb. I have a weed thumb. I grow weeds really well. And it's just an amazing zen to me. I go down there every day in the morning, check the temperature, check the humidity, open the plant up, talk to my babies, and check if they need water, see how the soil's doing, see how the conditions in the tent are going. And I look and admire the plant. I touch the leaves a little bit, smell my fingers. Give me one of these, myself. And I just enjoy it. And I probably check on the plant probably 3 or 4 or 5 times a day, sometimes more, sometimes it just depends on the day. But it's just enjoyment for me because I'm growing something that I grew myself and learned how to do. And now I get to smoke it. And it's economical in the long run for me because I don't have to buy any weed anywhere. I grow it all myself. We push some of it to edibles. The next process is to learn how to make live rosin. That's me getting a rosin press and just smoking my own rosin, knowing where it's come from, and learned a lot from Wolfman. Thank you, Wolfman. He was on the Grow Hour about hash and all the people who I talked to about hash and learning more. I've been smoking hash for a very long time, but never knew really the process of it all until the last 3 or 4, 5 years, learning about it more and more. So, but now the next phase for us is to do our own. We make our own edibles. Mm-hmm. We make our own flour. Next thing is to make my own hash. And then I will never, it's just the upfront cost to do this. But in the long term, like I've said before, my whole set, and I haven't done anything to my setup, it was $1,200. The only thing I had to do was buy a new humidifier and it was $45. And then I just had to buy soil. And I get nutrients from Big Earl. I love his nutrient line now.
Right.
And I buy some seeds. Mrs. Weedman and I bred some seeds. Eventually, if you learn how to breed, you'll never spend another dime on anything, especially if you like something that you've had to grow and learn how to clone your own shit too.
But then you can also swap.
That too. Favorite strains, GG4. We love it. Big Earl, we love it. Now, here's the deal. I have to now go out and search for GG4 strains or buy some for Big Earl so he can grow more of this because this fucking weed is amazing. So once you learn and you try some strains and you find one of your favorites, you can now breed that strain and grow your own seeds with that strain or clone it or find and just harvest what you want, but save some seeds for later and just always have that consistent grow of it if you like something. You can actually breed and make your own blends, it's kind of cool when you learn how to start becoming a pollen chucker, as Big Earl says. My favorite thing to do, and like I've said before and I'll say again, they don't call me the weed man because I can outsmoke everybody. That's definitely not true, and I proved that on New Year's. But they call me Weedman 420s because I always have weed. And when you don't have any, all you have to do is call, and I'll be there. Look over your shoulder,
Wow.
baby. It's Weedman 420.
Oh my gosh.
Puff, puffing away.
That's so corny.
It is, isn't it? It's so good, though.
It is.
Such a dad joke. That's why I love it. And it just popped out in my head at anywhere.
Hey, how about that?
You're going to gain an understanding of the plant like you've never understood before. Especially when you're just... Mrs. Weedman doesn't go in the tent all the time, but she checks them. And when I'm out of town, she checks them. But she has a connection with the plant, too, because she's been through the process. And especially growing your first plant over the summer. You have a connection with that plant.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Also, you know what's going in your weed.
Yep.
You know what you're putting, because that's going in your body. So you know exactly what soil you used, what maybe organic soil you're using, living soil you're using, organics you're using, the whole plant process. You just know from the seed to the soil to the green to the smoke. You knew how that was there and what's in it. And here's a really good one. Because you fucking can. Learn to do it and just fucking do it. I love when people send me pictures of their home grow and give me a nug of their home grow, and I get to smoke it and talk about their home grow on the show because they took the time, the energy, the passion, the love, the consistency, the care, the nurture, the love for that plant because they knew from top to bottom what was in it and how it was going to smoke, and they're sharing it with their friends and family because they care about them to give them something they know they grew themselves from the seed to soil to the green. The economical cost of it all. It's just a layer upon layer of why you should learn how to do it, and don't give up on your first 3, 4, 5 grows. If you do 100 grows and the fucking plant never comes out of the soil, then you need to have like Mr. Weedman come over or Big Girl come over and show you how to do it. Okay? So learn how to fucking grow weed and you will be so happy in life. Microdosing.
Yeah, it's a thing.
It is.
Yeah.
And it's good to microdose.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So I've got a good article here on how to microdose THC, finding your perfect dose. Not everyone wants to get high from weed. Most people, or more people, are opting to microdose THC for wellness purposes. Microdosing cannabis is the act of taking small doses, which for many does not induce a buzz. However, every person is different. It's up to the individual to find their sweet spot for cannabis, which can be a lot of trial and error. In a cannabis space dominated by high THC products, the need for low-potency products is clear. Microdosing may have several benefits, including improved mood, reduced pain, and neuroprotection. But how do you know where to start? If you've been curious about how to microdose THC, this deep dive has all that you will need to know. So, what is a microdose of THC? A microdose is the lowest amount of THC a person can take before they feel any psychoactive effect. For most people, this is less than 2.5 milligrams of THC. Cannabis is processed via the endocannabinoid system, a series of receptors throughout our central nervous system. Active compounds in the plant, like cannabinoids, terpenes, and flavonoids, go through your CB1 and CB2 receptors, and they act as your body's weed sensors. Since everybody's body is different, reactions to THC can vary dramatically from person to person. One person's endocannabinoid system may require higher doses of cannabis to feel high, while others may be far more sensitive. Medical marijuana patients could go either way depending on their condition, and it's crucial to always educate yourself as much as possible. Research on microdosing THC is somewhat limited, but it does show that it may help relieve a number of conditions. Anecdotally speaking, the benefits may be much broader. A 2012 study examined different doses of cannabis in people with severe cancer pain. Patients who received the lowest dose of cannabinoids saw the best results, while those who were given a high dose actually saw an increase in symptoms. In 2017, researchers in Illinois revealed that lower doses of THC may reduce stress. In that study, participants were given capsules containing 7.5 milligrams of THC or 12.5 milligrams. After 2 hours, they underwent a mock job interview. I'm sure that was interesting. The group given the lower dose saw decreased stress and anxiety, while the high-dose group exhibited more anxiety. Furthermore, microdosing may improve brain function. In one study, scientists discovered low doses of THC reversed age-related cognitive decline in mice. Other research has shown CBD to be an effective neuroprotectant, highlighting a need for inquiry into both THC and CBD on the brain. Finding an effective dose of cannabis requires you to begin with the lowest dose possible. You then work your way up with gradual increases. There's a saying in cannabis, start low, go slow.
Go slow.
This is especially true when it comes to honing in on your perfect dose. For most people seeking a microdose regimen, it's best to use cannabis products that are already precisely dosed, like edibles, tinctures, or capsules. However, most commercial edibles come in servings of 5 milligrams, which can be way more than a microdose for many consumers, especially new ones. Ideally, you would start with 1 milligram of THC and go from there. Full spectrum products also are recommended since they contain more of the cannabis plant's active ingredients. Fortunately, there are a number of brands catering to the low dose market. Since cannabis can affect people in vastly different ways, it's important to start in a controlled environment. Picking an evening at home when you don't have any other responsibilities, take your dose and wait for up to 2 hours, then journal your experience. You can then gradually increase your dose from there. Once you hit a dose where you definitely feel something, you've reached your cannabis threshold, and that point is where your mind-altering effects will begin. Here are some of the most frequently asked questions about it. How much is a microdose of marijuana? A microdose is the least amount of cannabis without you feeling high. How does microdosing THC work? THC interacts with your endocannabinoid system, which is part of your nervous system. Cannabis edibles are processed through the intestines, while smoke and vapor are processed through the lungs. Cannabinoid receptors in these parts of the body act as sensors, signaling to the brain and triggering a high. Can you microdose CBD? CBD and other cannabinoids like CBG and CBN can definitely be microdosed. However, the dosing recommendations may be different than they are with THC, since that's more psychoactive than other minor cannabinoids. Microdosing THC, benefits without the buzz. Finding doses of cannabis that work for you can be challenging, but will be worth the hard work. A microdose of THC may elevate your mood, reduce pain, and even help you sleep better at night. Consuming cannabis is extremely personal, and a microdose for one person can be a macrodose to another. Whether you're a medical cannabis patient seeking relief or a professional seeking a boost of energy during a long day, knowing your why will also inform your regimen. Once you find the best dose and product for your individual needs, you may find that microdosing is exactly what you need to live your best life.
Pretty good.
Yeah,
I mean, microdosing is good.
I think so.
It's not a bad thing at all. It's just it trains your body and it trains your system. And there's a lot of people out there that have low tolerance. I mean, we still love our 10s.
Mm-hmm.
I still love a 10. 10 is great for me.
I still like a 2.5.
Because I like a 10 because we smoke.
A 2.5 is a microdose for me. Sometimes a 5 could be a microdose.
Yeah, I like 10s. I'm a 10er.
For a microdose?
No, just 10s.
Oh, you just like 10s.
I just like a 10. Just good. It's good for my body.
You can function.
Yes. I was going to read this article about ancient Rome and marijuana. I'm not going to.
Changed your mind?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll talk about it on another episode. Or maybe I'll just post it. But let's talk about concentrations, the evolution of cannabis extraction. Let's talk about hash. And I'm going to talk about this with you.
Yeah.
And did you find that?
No.
Yeah,
I did.
You found your cough drop?
Yeah. I dropped
Mrs.
it.
Weedman thought she was going to get a
Dropping
break.
things.
And I skipped.
He skipped a story, so now I got to get back to
story.
reading.
You
Hold
don't
on,
have
let
to
me
get
get
back
a
to reading
beverage.
yet. I'm going to give you. We're going to talk about hash. We're going to talk about. We're going to talk about extraction and when I first saw my first extraction and my first like dab, like someone handed it to me, was wax, and this was 20. And now I'm not talking about hash. I've had hash in my life for a very long time, since the early 90s.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm talking about other types of extractions, and I'm talking about wax and shatter. And when I first saw those two, it was 2012, end of 2012 going into 2013. And I had left the beer distributor, and I just got working for a brewery. So it was in between that time. And I had no idea what it was. And I was talking to this kid who I used to work with at a restaurant. He was making it out of his home. Out of his home. I said, so what is this? He's like, I said, he goes, well, it's an extraction. He goes, I use butane. I said, butane, like fucking, like lighter fluid butane? He goes, no, it's edible butane. And I do it on my stove, and I make this stuff. He didn't go through the whole entire process. But
Sounds terribly dangerous.
It does sound terribly dangerous. And he gave me some of it in parchment paper and said, do you know anybody that likes this? And I'm like, I don't know enough about this, but I'm sure I know some people that do. And I remember talking to somebody who I worked with at the brewery, and he's like, bring it to me. Let's try it. I have something to smoke out of it. I love it. And we smoked. And we drove around together visiting accounts, and I smoked this wax with him, and I was fucking high. Really high. Like stuck in the car high. Like I had never smoked that before. And he said, you're going to be really high. He goes, hit it light, and then if you don't get enough, we'll hit it again. I said, okay, fine. I hit it. I gave it a good, not a huge rip, but I gave it a nice hit, and I was high.
Do you think some of it is from the butane? Like a chemical?
No, I tasted, I think it felt like I tasted it, but not in a bad way. I tasted some stuff I had never tasted before in weed. It was different. And
I remember seeing somebody with it around 2013 and being like, what are they, like, I thought they were doing crack or something. Like, what are they doing over there? And you were like, it's just shatter. I'm like, shatter what? Crack?
So, I mean, these guys were getting it from Cali that I hung out with and worked with. And then this guy was making it locally. And it was, like I said, I'd never seen no shit like this before. And it was cool stuff, and then learning what shatter was and then smoking shatter at a rig a couple times. Like, holy fuck, this got me geeky. Like, geeky stuff. Like, I wasn't used to being like that. Like, where I was comatose on the fucking, I still knew where I was at. I was functioning, but I couldn't move. I was like, holy shit. And so I really didn't smoke much of it. If it was around, or if someone had a pen, and then all of a sudden pens came out. And I got my first fucking dab pen, and my first fucking little fucking distillate, I guess it was. And that was like 2014, 2015. Someone from Oregon was selling some around, and I bought some pens. Remember that? And I bought some fucking, and it was dark as dark could be. I mean, this stuff was black. Like, it wasn't cleaned right yet. It was just the early phases of it. And people were doing it out of their fucking house and doing it with butane, or doing it with, doing it whatever. And it got us really high. It was 40-50% that I'd never seen before. And all of a sudden I was buying little fucking batteries for these. And we were fucking using it. Remember? It was great. Go to concerts. You didn't have to worry about getting in trouble. Busting out a joint. Weed wasn't fucking recreational yet in Illinois. So it was kind of nice to have those around. And as I saw time go by before I got my med card in 2017, I saw the process of the liquid getting clearer and clearer and clearer, to where it was like a golden honey color versus black as tar. So concentration and the evolution of cannabis extraction. Did I give you a little bit of a break to finish that cough drop?
Thanks.
I wasn't not going to tell a story.
I know.
I was giving you a little bit of a break.
Thank you.
Just the whole Rome thing sounded great, but whatever.
Well, concentrations. We have the evolution of cannabis extraction here. In the world of cannabis, one of the largest and most contested categories is extraction. To begin with, there are two main camps: the solventless and the solvent-driven extraction, and extraction artists are how they used to be known. To examine the two distinct sides of extraction, one must understand the differences between solvent-based extracts and extracts made without solvents. The key defining characteristics of extracts is that the trichome head, which contains the cannabinoids and terpenes, is separated from the plant material and collected. Hash, which comprises water-based solventless separations, sieved separations, and hand-rubbed varieties, is the predominant category of extracts found around the world. In the case of hash, it is less of an extraction and more of a separation, meaning the head of the trichome is separated from the stalk via one of the aforementioned techniques. In some cases, with the traditional style of hash, these separated trichome heads are eventually pressed, releasing the oil and homogenizing it into a whole piece of hash. With solventless-based extractions, the plant is mixed with solvent-based extractions, the plant is mixed with a solvent, which separates the trichome heads into a homogenized whole that has a consistency that is more like a viscous oil. With butane hash, or BHO, the extractor first separates the oil and then lets it crash out, so to speak. The THCA crystals form in a bath of terpenes and THC. This chemical reaction reforms the oil into two components, the sauce and the diamonds. I
get lost in the sauce.
You get lost in the sauce. The initial difference between hash and solvent-based extracts was that solvent extractions were quite dangerous and often involved the use of a large and costly equipment. It was also profoundly difficult to get large amounts of solvents prior to legalization. For this reason, hash was really the most predominant strategy of extraction up until the early 2000s, when, as a result of medical legalization, butane hash and distillate started to become popular techniques for extraction. This was also when the closed-loop BHO extraction systems started to appear, making that form of extraction safer and more widely adopted. The biggest argument against solvent-based extraction is the danger involved in manufacturing them and the potential for residual solvents. But one could argue that if a lab test came back showing no solvents in your oil, it would be solventless at that moment of time. Would you agree? Would you agree? I mean, I still think that there's residual from the I would imagine, right? Or it removes some beneficial characteristics of the plant because it's chemical.
Yeah.
Like a chemical interaction.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, there's if you listen to the two episodes we did with Wolfman, you know, when we were talking about the solvent list, the solvents parts of it, and how they, you know, how I've always tasted the solvents, especially the butane. And he's like, that's because their curing process was done wrong. So, and that's why you shouldn't taste it if it was cured correctly and if it was done right. So, but it's still in there.
Right.
So, and that's why a lot of people like solventless because they don't want the chemicals. They don't want that process that it was made with.
Right.
You know, does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. So meanwhile, with hash or solventless extracts, no chemicals were used in the separation process, like we just said. Some people argue that water and terpenes themselves are solvents, which is true. Still, in the case of water hash, the water acts as a carrier rather than a solvent, since the cold water separates the head from the stalk. The earliest techniques for traditional hash were either hand-rubbed or sieved. The hand-rubbed was usually darker and creamier, feeling more slick and oily to the touch. The sieved was typically a bit drier and had consistency more like sand pressed together. In some cases, the sieved hash was super oily and homogeneous due to its high oil content. These two forms of hash were very popular in Europe, where it has a long history. In the U.S., there was less of a cultural connection to hash because it was harder to import. When a big chunk of hash was made in Morocco, it easily made its way to Spain and the rest of Europe via Gibraltar.
The Rock.
Yeah. Interestingly, though, when hash oil, also known as dabs, hit the U.S. like a storm in the 2010s, it soon became one of the most prominent forms of consumption. This culture eventually evolved and produced the rosin heads that now rule the hash world in America and other global cannabis hotspots. Rosin would become an elite entry into the extraction world as people realized they could squash the heads off mediocre hash, producing a more oil-like dabbable product. Due to the extremely low-yielding results of this technique, rosin would become not only sought after, but also one of the most expensive types of extracts. In its long tradition, hash and now extracts have evolved into a myriad of types, with distinct products and ways of producing them. As cannabis legalization spreads across the globe, it will be interesting to see what further innovations in the extraction world may come our way.
Yeah, and I give Mrs. Weedman articles that she's not 100% knowledgeable on, so she can learn. And she said this to me earlier in the show. She's like, "I don't know if I'm ready for this." I'm like, "Yeah, you are. You are very experimenting a lot and trying different methods now of hash, and you need to learn." So I always try to give you. It's complicated sometimes with all these different processes.
There's
and how to
rosin.
make stuff. Yeah, and all the different language.
Resin.
Yeah.
There's live rosin.
Yeah.
There's hash. There's solventless hash.
There's a lot. So I try to give you some articles to help you learn, because we're not experts. We say it all the time. We're learning to help others learn. Right.
Oh my gosh.
There's so many different processes now. It's not just fucking get the flower and smoke it. You know, it's not that anymore. So it is a lot. And we like to smoke a lot of different methods and different ways and different. I mean, I love hash. I've loved it since the 90s.
I just want to be able to maintain a certain level of smoke. That's my preferred consumption. And vaporizing would be secondary. And I just want to have clean. I want what's going into my body to be as pure and as clean as possible. And that's why I like hash.
Right.
Solventless
It's
hash.
fucking great. The high is there. The taste is fucking out of this world. And what we're doing here in the United States with hash nowadays is absolutely fucking incredible. Still, I mean, I would love Mrs. Weedman to try some true Moroccan hash and some true Jamaican hash and get like the old school way of making it and really seeing what that's all about. But the hash that's being made in certain states and certain people that I know that make it through their house,
the old traditional ways,
is just fucking unreal. The new tradition way they're doing too is we smoked the fucking New Year's.
Right.
You know, the new tradition, the way they're making it today. I mean, watching them braid it and knead it like dough is absolutely fucking incredible. My friend Broccoli Rob, who I knew from Ohio, watching him do it, absolutely fucking amazing. You know, what he taught me and showed me. And it was like,
that's an old name.
Broccoli Rob.
Yeah, I haven't heard that in a while.
And he's still the man. You know, I think he's one of the best young buck hash makers I've ever seen. You know, and Wolfman, another phenomenal hash maker. You know, just learning it, showing and teaching the old school ways, but also adding the new school way how to do it too. He's doing so many different ways on how to make hash. It's fucking amazing. I love watching some of these people that I follow on Instagram too make hash. It's just amazing to watch this new process. And I follow these Moroccan hash makers too, and still can keep up with the old school ways too. But it's just amazing to see the deliciousness, the smell, the taste, the high. The process of, just like when I was talking about growing a plant, the hash process is an art form now. You have Frenchie Cannoli that we've talked about on the show, rest his soul, you know, what he did for the hash making and his traditional ways of making it too. I mean, it's just, there's some fucking amazing, my friend Mr. Straight, you know, from Straight A, amazing, you know, his stuff is legit. You know, so just I love to see this new form, but also keeping some of the old school ways and how to do it too. So, Kentucky medical marijuana program, Governor Beshear is adding some expansion to it, and this is the year from January 1 to 2025. This is the year where they're putting everything together, because 2025 the medical stores are supposed to launch. Exciting. What's stopping cannabis and legalization in Indiana? The governor, of course, and 2, you can't put it on the ballot. Shame. Let the people decide. Indiana, and see who wins. Scared? Wisconsin governor says he'll absolutely sign limited GOP medical marijuana bill unless it contains poison pills. What they're proposing is kind of just really weird. And the steps that they're going to take to get there, instead of coming across the table and making it done right. The governor does support, though, recreational too, because he's seeing all the money that's going across this state, but it's going to be very, very limited. And I think they were going to have only pharmacists be able to sell it, which would suck. Legal weed in Missouri is almost a year old, and they were banging out from February of last year to November. December numbers aren't out yet. $100 million months, and that's medical and recreational together. But still, $100 million months. Their biggest year was in March at $126 million. Crazy. So, and they had a shortage of flour. Weird. Nearly half of the applicants for Missouri Social Equity marijuana licenses were from other states. Oh my goodness. Congressman tells DEA to reschedule marijuana as swiftly as possible, but DEA says it's their choice, and they're going to consider easing marijuana restrictions. But there's a word they're considering. It's only considering. Police charge 5 people, seize thousands of plants in illegal pot operation in central Maine residence. There's a lot of illegal weed grow in 2 states, But this one's taking the cake in Maine. Oh my goodness, there's so many illegal grows, just like Oklahoma. And that's why Oklahoma is focusing on some new laws on the medical side of things in 2024. The weird one, though, I know they've been doing a lot of busting illegal farms, but the weird one they're going to do is secret shoppers. That's
Really?
coming to Oklahoma. Very weird. And we had somebody that reached out to me from Oklahoma. Says she's a home baker of edibles and would love to come on the show. I'll have to look up her name, but she is from Oklahoma and wants to talk about the shitty ass Oklahoma stuff that goes on there. But I'm sorry I can't find your name on here on my DMs somewhere. I apologize. But she's from Oklahoma. I got to look it up again and find her. But the secret shopper thing is really weird. Because they want to probably bust stores for serving minors and all that bullshit. So, crazy. Or people that don't have a medical card. Because they fucked up. They opened it up too quick and they just opened the floodgates. Instead of, like, slowly doing it, 2,200 licenses and 8,000 grows. And there's just absolutely, no one can make any money. It's great to give a lot of people a chance. But with that kind of numbers, you need to make it recreational. Because I think only like 500,000 people or 400,000 people have their med card. You have 2,000 stores open up. That's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Vermont Cannabis Control Board approved seasonal closure for outdoor mixed-use grow and licenses. Okay. All right. I see you, Vermont. Rankings. Where does your state rank on cannabis freedom? And there's a really good website that Mrs. Weedman is going to tell you to go and check this out, too, because they have a lot of cool shit on there. But where does your state rank?
Yeah. So this article refers to a website. It's called freedomin50states.org. And it's all about what your rights of freedom are in the state that you live in. And it's a very interactive map that you can click on everything. It's pretty neat. I just spent maybe an hour on there, but there's a world of information. So anyway. Currently, 38 states have some form of legalized cannabis. Freedomin50states.org in 2023 identified where people had the most autonomy with the plant in their first Cannabis and Salvia Freedom section. So that's a clickable link inside the website for the category of Cannabis and Salvia Freedom. The Freedom Project was started in 2000 by the Cato Institute, a Washington, D.C.-based libertarian think tank whose founders include the CEO of oil conglomerate corporation Koch Industries. The yearly report highlights prevalent efficiency, corruption, and respect for freedom in each state. In the report, cannabis freedom comes from multiple angles. The researchers surveyed potential loss consumers and producers incurred because they lived in prohibited states, both in terms of potential tax revenue and access to the plant. For example, locales with limiting policies like home grow bans would be considered more prohibitive than places with open plant counts. The cost of arrest and incarceration from cannabis prohibition was measured in a section entitled Incarceration and Arrests for Victimless Crimes, although it was not included in the Cannabis Freedom Report. That's odd. Many variables were considered to understand consumption levels and habits as they related to decriminalization, medical cannabis laws, and adult use. The Medical Marijuana Law Index drove into the scopes of qualifying conditions, maximum possession amounts, dispensary laws, and home grow regulations. Statisticians also considered how adult use legalization impacted consumption habits in adults and penalties for single and high-level cannabis offenses. This information was matched against weed habits in each state to measure the impact on consumption and, in turn, personal and tax revenue. The data showed that legal dispensaries and decriminalization both point to a lower consumer price for pot. Calculations also estimated a potential $5.4 billion economic surplus in the United States if they would finally enact the federal marijuana legalization. So $5.4 billion economic surplus if the U.S. went legal federally.
Damn.
Researchers mention that taxes are not considered in the statistical analysis, but they hope to include this data set in 2024. Additionally, Delaware, Maryland, and Minnesota legalized adult use, and Kentucky legalized medical after the study closed. If the correlation between high taxes and a thriving legacy market were included, California may not rank so high. But let's move on to the rankings. The best and worst cannabis freedom states. The top 5 states for weed freedom are 1. California, 2. Maine, 3. Alaska, 4. Massachusetts, and 5. Arizona. The lowest on the list for weed freedom are the worst is Texas. Then we have Tennessee, Georgia, Iowa, and South Carolina, the deep south. States like California are always expected to land at the top of cannabis lists. However, many may have expected metropolitan hubs like New York or powerhouse Illinois to have more cannabis freedom.
What, the Not So Fun League, Illinois? That's what I call it, the Not So Fun Cannabis League here in Illinois. No fun.
And both states ranked in the upper teens. Alternatively, most people probably expected to see the bottom 5 right where they were, though some might be surprised not to find Idaho. It made it in at number 39. Texas was ranked lowest on cannabis freedom, also ranking lowest in overall freedom in the yearly index. The Freedom in 50 State report highlights something apparent in the last decade. Cannabis is no longer a partisan issue. Though the outliers remain in every party, Republican or Democratic, Libertarian or Socialist, most agree on one thing. It's time to give up on pot prohibition.
I mean, Illinois should have at least 200 cannabis consumption lounges by now in this state.
Yeah.
As Governor Pritzker kind of touts how they're the best in the country. No, you're not. Mm-mm. This is the Not So Fun League, is what I call it. So I found that person who DM'd me. And it took, I didn't see this right away. So I want to apologize. This was back from December 15th and it was like in my spam on Instagram. So, and I finally looked somewhere and I saw it. So, and I answered, Dear Weedman 420 Chronicles. This is the Oklahoma business person I was talking about. I am Ebony Jones, owner and head chef of 828 LLC in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I love Tulsa. I do. It is a great bar there called Mercury Lounge, punk cowboy rock. It's amazing. Specializing in scratch-baked desserts and cannabis-friendly events. My journey from Le Cordon Bleu graduate to the head of Sublime Brands Infused Candies and Chocolates department has been a roller coaster. Amidst the pandemic, I founded 828 to break the stigma around cannabis consumption and promote mental health awareness through events like Puff and Plant Intentions. Now at the crossroads, I'm considering opening a storefront and expanding my impact by giving back to the youth through education. I'd be honored to share my story and insights on your podcast discussing challenges and triumphs in the cannabis industry, community engagement, and my vision for the future. So thanks, Miss Ebony Jones, for reaching out to us. You can follow her on Black Butter, Budder Fly, and we will discuss this with the team and talk it out, and we'll let you know. But I just wanted to read your story anyway because I thought it was really cool, especially I mentioned Oklahoma. And thanks for sharing your story. International news, Bermuda sisters break barriers with Uplift, a journey from stigma to success. So 2 sisters who started a cannabis company and dispensary in Bermuda, which just opened up, and so awesome to hear of how Bermuda's doing. And they are kicking ass and taking names, and they are highlighted as 2 female representations in the cannabis industry in Bermuda and doing well. So congrats. That's awesome to hear. Thailand. How many times did I say this, Mrs. Weedman, about Thailand? Don't fuck it up. Right? Mm-hmm, how many times did I say that?
A lot.
And this friggin' new government is trying to ban cannabis for recreational use, and they're going to be trying to sneak in these new bills and amend the whole legalization. There better be people up in arms because you're the first Southeast Asian country to decriminalize recreational cannabis back in 2022, and don't let this new government come and take your freedoms away. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. You'll regret it the rest of your lives. You are amazing of what I've been seeing and reading about for the last couple of years. Please Fight this. Do not let this new government come in and take away your freedoms. Canadian banks are leaving legal cannabis businesses out in the cold, and more global updates. And a recent Cannabis St. Kitts and Nevis PM, Dr. Terence Drew, unveiled the nation's intentions to use economic potential of marijuana. Canada's major banks remain reluctant to do business with legal cannabis industries after 6 years of legalization. And some more about Thailand. Cannabis products is making its way in stores in neighboring Laos. See, you're even getting some import stuff going on. So, come on now. Come on, Thailand. Don't fuck it up. Canada, when the whole country went legal, a lot of it's government run, and then there's bigger cannabis businesses and industry there. But you know who seem to be doing a little bit better than the rest? The mom and pop shops of Canada. Because they know how to run a store and take care of it, people that come into their store. And that makes me happy. Mm-hmm. So happy to hear that. That the little stores in the little neighborhoods that people are supporting.
The small businesses.
Yes.
That's great.
Makes me so happy. So good for you. Martha Stewart.
She's back at it, man.
You like her. So
you know what? She just said recently in an interview that she did not even... she was not accomplished until her 50s. She did a start over at 50, and that's when she first started.
And she went to jail.
Yeah. That was probably around 60.
Yeah.
And now she's 70 and she's
hard time too.
I know.
She came out stronger than ever.
In federal prison, planning her next attack. She's savvy.
I'm not making fun of her at all. She's one tough lady.
She's a badass.
One tough lady, fucking up in prison and shit, running shit, coming out stronger than ever, starting more companies and running with Snoop Dogg. And
it's just a thing of the past.
Fucking badass.
Yep.
She's a survivor. What's that song by
Beyonce?
Yeah, I'm a survivor. That's fucking her right there.
Yeah.
Badass.
So we talk about her and we talk about Snoop Dogg a lot. They're just very present in the public face of cannabis, really. Even if you don't smoke weed, I'm sure you know that they're both connected to it, right? So they are here talking in this article, and it says, working with Snoop Dogg, and we enjoy, quote unquote, baking. As I reflect on my recent collaboration with Snoop, I realize I learn so much from him every time we work together. He's taught me about music and business and always gives me a fresh perspective. We both help each other in that way, says the world-famous media personality and businesswoman Martha Stewart during an exclusive interview. Martha Stewart and Snoop Dogg's collaborations have become iconic in bringing together diverse worlds. Their joint endeavors began with the VH1 show Martha and Snoop's Potluck Dinner Party in 2016. The show was a hit, showcasing their chemistry and contrasting their styles. Showcasing their chemistry and their contrasting styles. How's that? Their partnership then extended beyond the show, including various appearances and joint projects. They have since appeared together in a number of commercials and public events, often highlighting their unlikely but genuine friendship. Their collaborations resonate with a wide and diverse audience. In their new adventure, Stewart and Snoop Dogg combine their shared insight and individual flair. Observing the rise of functional accessories, the duo wanted to add to the trend with their own personal flair, Stewart explains. She recalls the inspiration behind her Best Buds bags with a sense of accomplishment. I wanted to create a fashion accessory that was both fashionable and functional, she explains. The bags were conceived as a fusion of Stewart's minimalist chic style and the practicality of an everyday essential, the lighter. The bags were also a prelude to her upcoming Bic Easy Reach lighter collection, which is expected to launch in early 2024 and will feature beautiful patterns and colors that are chic and minimalistic, she shared. The partnership with Snoop Dogg adds an additional layer of richness to the project. Renowned for their unique and dynamic pairing, Stewart and Snoop bring together contrasting but complementary styles. He's a great friend and business partner who is always fun to work with, Stewart remarks, highlighting the duo's harmonious collaboration. Their relationship transcends business, fostering mutual learning and shared creative journeys. With the lighter acting as the latch that opens the bag, my lighter is always easily accessible, and it doesn't get lost at the bottom of my purse, she explains. The secret pockets, while a clever addition, are just one of the many features that make the bags appealing to a diverse audience. Stuart's journey with the Best Buds bags is not just a tale of fashion and functionality. The alliance, born out of a mutual understanding and diverse creative expression, signifies more than just a business venture to them. It's a celebration of friendship and shared values. Their collaboration extends beyond a personal rapport. It's a reflection of a larger cultural shift, Stewart explains. In her view, it represents a movement toward mainstream acceptance of cannabis. Celebrities have a lot of power to influence trends, and I want to make sure what I'm promoting is genuine, she adds. And she predicts, we're going to see a lot more celebrities interested in similar endorsements. And as more celebrities sign on to promote herb-related products and accessories, we're going to see the industry continue to expand. The philanthropic aspect of the Best Buds Bags collaboration is another dimension close to Stewart's heart. The Martha Stewart Center for Living, an organization dedicated to offering seniors high-quality primary care, will benefit from the proceeds of the bags. This gesture adds a layer of social responsibility to the project, aligning with Stewart's ethos of contributing positivity to the community. In a final playful note, when asked about sharing a joint with anyone, Stewart's response is lighthearted yet poignant. I'd certainly enjoy some baking with Snoop, she said with a chuckle, encapsulating the unique and endearing nature of their partnership. Cute. That's
Snoop,
cute. Making the purse.
And Martha is just...
I've seen it. So it's like where the purse closes, a lighter slides in. And
That's
it keeps
pretty cool.
The purse closed. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. I like I said, she's a badass. I mean,
she gets shit done.
Isn't she like 80 and killing it?
I don't know. I thought she was in her 70s.
She kills it. That's all I know. There was a band. It's a legendary band. And the band's called Sleep. And they have an album called Dope Smoker. It is a very long one-song album. And it's just all stoner metal. It's amazing. If you haven't heard it, it's just continuously just goes and goes, but when you're stoned, it's like whoa. And they spent their whole entire first urban legend has it. It's that they took their advance from London Records and spent it all on weed. But according to them though too, they always had ounces upon ounces at a time, and to make a record like this you needed to like be heavy weed smoked out. And to them and to the writers of this article, they said that Dope Smoker is perhaps the purest expression of stoner doom, a genre forever linked with marijuana. It is a record both of its time and timeless, a testament to the creative power of cannabis. It is a landmark, a monument, a shrine at which future generations of stoner doom bands come to pray. And at the altar, a giant smoldering pile of weed. So, I know some people that go see them too. I've never seen them in concert. I know people that have seen them and just said, it's amazing. It's just straight, just music, hard stoner doom rock that's just like powerful. So I like their music. It is deep, and get deep into the weeds when you listen to them because it makes a lot more sense. As my friend MB would say, he is a very big Sleep fan. You know who I'm talking about, Ms. Weedman. He's probably wearing their t-shirt right now. So, Ms. Weedman.
Mr. Weedman.
As you smoke that joint of GG4, because it's so damn good.
It's good.
That's the end of the show.
Yep.
Got anything else to say?
Have a fantastic week, everybody. I hope that your 2024 is going to be fantastic. And hopefully you're not walking in 3 inches of slush like we are.
Ugh.
It's
not
pretty
even just snow.
sloppy. It's just sloppy.
It's muck.
I want snow,
It's
like
slush,
knee-deep snow.
Slush muck. Mm-hmm. It's just fucking terrible. It's the worst kind of snow you can get. It's just wet, nasty. You step on it, it turns gray. It's gross. Ugh.
So wherever you are in the world, I hope it's good. And
Better than here. That's
better
for
than
fucking
here.
sure.
But then that made me think like, oh, on a big picture of life
Well, our
right
friends
now.
in the
Like,
Northeast are getting shellacked right now.
yeah, and then they're like bigger picture stuff, right? Like we know.
So, but we love you all out there.
Stay safe.
Yeah, be kind. Be careful driving.
Yeah.
Please. I saw like 6 cars today, like on the side of the road. Be careful out there. Friends all across the country and everybody out there in the world. Man, peace be with you all. However you say it, in whatever language, peace be with you all. I mean, seriously. We need some love, some kindness. We just need human beings to be like loving. Just something, please. Tired of all this death. Ugh. Please love each other, man. Be kind. As Paulie always says, smoke smart. Puff, puff, and away.
Puff, puff, pass.
Check out our cannabis lifestyle brand online at 8decades.com. Our custom smokes and accessories are perfect for your coffee table, bedroom nightstand, or kitchen counter. They're designed for you to show them off. The Canna community is also loving our hemp and cotton blend t-shirts, sweatshirts, scarves, and hats, finished off with our 8 Decades logo. We've got some awesome, long-lasting goods that will be your favorite for years to come. 8 Decades, because a 9th decade of cannabis prohibition isn't acceptable.